And YouTube's perfect for that just because it's simple. A lot of times customers, if you're building any sort of customer training product,
social media video is rapidly replacing a lot of things that were, traditional e-learning or text-based.
I know Vyond's offering their AI version of video now, and it's pretty good.
Storyline, one of the best things about Storyline is it is an industry-leading tool.
For user experience, which video is a big factor in, and also what people prefer. Hey everybody, Erick Prospero here with the Microlearning Lab. Today we're talking to Kimberly Goh, and I'm a big fan of her just because she is one of the biggest experts on YouTube tied to interactive video. Definitely give her a follow. She's going to introduce herself shortly. But again, this is one of the authorities if you're looking to develop interactive video content, and she has a lot of awesome courses as well. But before we jump into it, Kimberly, can you tell us a little more about yourself?
Sure, Eric, and thanks for inviting me on the podcast. It's nice to connect with you again after a while. And so let me tell you all a little about myself. First of all, I actually, like many instructional designers, came from a variety of different jobs. I started in computer science, didn't love programming, tried out marketing and consulting, and did those for actually kind of a while. And then I ended up in ed tech, and I thought I was going to go down the ed tech route. And there was at some point I realized I really don't want to work with kids. I want to work with adults. I love learning, I love education, but the adult area was where I wanted to focus. And so I ended up going back to UC Irvine for they have an online instructional design and e-learning certification. And I did that, got myself into the world of e-learning. And it was from that I was able to start my freelance career. And that was really, it was a very enjoyable experience, getting to know a lot of other instructional designers and getting to, understand kind of how the industry operates and finding out what it's like to be a freelancer. And I've been doing that for a while. So that's like part of my business is the freelance work. And with a focus on interactive video. So I don't do traditional e-learning. I do this more kind of interactive video work. And separate from that, I also run a YouTube channel, and that's more for instructional designers who want to learn about how interactive video works, or people who are interested in AI tools and technology. That's kind of what I'm talking about these days because everyone's talking about AI. So that's what I'm doing now. And I have some courses also on storytelling and action mapping and branching scenarios, because all of that is wrapped up in what interactive video is all about. It's really, a lot of them are branching scenarios in the background. So that's a little about me.
Awesome. Now, I'm already drinking the interactive video Kool-Aid, right? I mean, I'm a big fan of it. It's hard for me not to pitch video. I definitely have my bias towards this space. But why do you see the industry going in this direction?
Yeah. So I think if you break it down into two parts, so the video portion is huge. I mean, you can see that it's everywhere. It's on social media. Video is rapidly replacing a lot of things that were, traditional e-learning or text-based, materials. Video seems to be what people are most drawn to, probably because it's so visual. Sometimes it's real life, or it might be animated as what, kind of work that you folks do at Ninja Tropic. But video is just ubiquitous nowadays, and it's only going to get bigger. So that's the video portion. But the interactive portion, the interactivity is really interesting, because if you define interactivity beyond just quizzes and knowledge checks and things like that, I mean, if you look at it in terms of decision-making and agency, that's when it gets really, really interesting, because you can start to have immersive scenarios, and you can have choose your own adventure games, and with AR and VR coming online, it's going to only move more and more in that direction, because people, games are such a huge part of our culture. And I think we're going to see a merging of that kind of gamified interactive scenario as part of training. So it's going to grow. I think that's why the trend is so important. And the other thing is that if you're an instructional designer, or, if you're a freelancer, if you're someone who works in corporate, or if you're even someone who's in transition or is in education, all of these different types of people all should be keeping an eye, I think, on this particular type of industry, this type of media, because it's going to be big in the future, and you don't want to be someone who kind of missed the boat because you weren't paying attention. So that's why I think it's really great that we're talking about this topic today.
As tools and technology, and one of the things I respect about your background, especially with the perspective on marketing and ed tech and the different approaches, is I've noticed that people that have a variety of that don't necessarily, I guess I'm going to call them instructional design natives, right? That studied instructional design. It's what they initially did in college, and it's what they're purely focused in that area. I tend to think they have more of a very biased opinion, as opposed to people who have more of that eclectic background, right? You have an appreciation for user experience, which video is a big factor in, and also what people prefer. So I know at least in the context of marketing, video is very popular, and people are going to be watching this on the form of a video. And lastly, I just think, from my opinion, it's easy in terms of user experience. Now, with that being said, you have to have some sort of engagement, right? Otherwise, there's no way to actually track if they're learning or engaging with the content, deciding or determining. So I definitely love the approach. Now, on to the 5 tools tied to interactive video. Let's jump into number 1, and I'm very excited to hear this because I'm curious to see what your favorites are.
Yeah, and these are tools that I selected based on what was probably the most user-friendly. So in other words, you don't need to code or anything like that. These are all tools that I'm going to give a variety of tools. So some of them might be more budget-friendly, and some of them are on the more expensive side, because depending on the type of work that your audience does, they might need to have a variety of tools. And I wanted to include some tools that are really good for people who are in transition, because I just think there's a lot of folks like that, or people who are building online portfolios. So a few of these tools are going to be like that. And particularly, I want to include some surprises for people who are maybe experienced instructional designers, because they're like, oh, you probably know all the tools already. I want to include a few little nuggets of wisdom that you might not know about certain tools, particularly tool number 4 and 5. Those are going to be like kind of the surprise things. So yeah, so let's get into it. So tool number 1 is, probably you guys can guess it, Articulate, Storyline, and Rise. I put them together because that's a bundle package when you make that purchase. And some of the pros that have to do with Storyline, particularly, and I'll include Rise in this in a minute, but Storyline, one of the best things about Storyline is it is an industry-leading tool. So when you look at job descriptions, they almost always include, need to have some kind of storyline experience. And so you just know it's a very robust tool. It's super flexible. You can design almost anything in it. And one of the really big key points about it is that it has in the story, when you're looking at it through the story lens, you can see an entire, it's like the branch. You can see all of the branches when you're looking at in the story mode. So being able to see an entire branching map with all of the different scenarios, and the end games laid out in one place is really a powerful thing if you're creating something that's complicated. If it's something simple, Rise doesn't have that kind of, branching overview, but they do have something that's called the scenario block. And scenario blocks it's easy to use. So Rise is the easy to use version of, and very it's also mobile friendly. It's mobile responsive. So that's what the value of Rise and what's good about it. But I'm just going to check my list here, make sure I haven't missed anything that was important. So the other thing that is important to know about both Storyline and Rise, and this is a real big pro, is that it is you don't have any additional costs no matter how many times people play the interactive modules. And that's huge, because in the interactive video industry, some of the tools that are out there, and they're not on this list, but some of the tools that are out there, if you have an increased number of people who are playing the game that you created, you pay more money as the person who put that object out there and you're hosting it. And when you think about it from a scalability factor, that's great if you're in marketing, because that means that you're getting more, marketing, and so therefore more money is coming in. But if you're an instructional designer, more people play your game, you pay more money as a developer. That's terrible. So just from a budgetary standpoint, I chose all tools that are they're scalable without additional cost to you as the individual. So, or as the company. So those are some of the really big pros that have to do with the Articulate bundle, but there are some cons. And one of them is it's relatively expensive. It's the most expensive tool that I'm going to mention today. So I'm going to actually give you prices current as of today, just so people who are evaluating tools can, make a wise choice. So this tool does not have a monthly subscription plan. It's either $1,200 per year for the and you get both of those tools plus a lot of other cool stuff, but those are the main ones. So it's either $1,200 a year for the standard tool set of Storyline and Rise, or the new thing they've just introduced, which includes the AI assistant, which is very good and powerful, but that brings the price up to $1,500 per year. So you can see Storyline is like, kind of the Cadillac. There, some other cons are, and they do offer discounts for teachers and students. So just FYI, that's a good thing. But Storyline also only runs in a Windows environment, so you have to use Boot Camp or some emulator if you're a Mac user like myself. Rise, the scenario block, and this was a frustrating part for me because I really liked how easy Rise was to use, but the characters are limited in the scenario block to, I think it's 150 to 200 characters, like typed in characters. So when you think about it in terms of giving feedback, it's like, that's really short. And I don't know why they don't increase that. I think it has to do with viewability on a mobile screen, but it's just like kind of a thing. So I actually don't use Rise myself. For my client work, I always use Storyline because it's more versatile. And this is one of those little things that a lot of people don't realize, Storyline modules, you can export not only the playable module, so the object code is kind of what it's called in technical terms, but the playable objects you can always export from Rise and Storyline no matter what. But the editable Storyline file can be exported from Storyline. That's good because a client many times wants the editable version of it. So you as the developer, you don't have to keep an active subscription. You could just give them the Storyline file and be done with it. But you can't do that with Rise. Rise is cloud-based. And if somebody wants if you're a freelancer and the client says, like an aerospace client, for instance, and many of them, they require editable files. If you were to do your development in Rise, you're in a lot of trouble. When you go to give it to them, they have to have their own Rise account or Storyline account or Articulate account, and you transfer the card to them. You transfer the Rise program to them. And that's like, it's one of those weird things about Rise that many people don't know, but just FYI. So Storyline is great. That's my tool of choice, actually. Whenever I do interactive video development, I do it almost exclusively in Storyline.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. And that's typically our preference as well, too. And to be honest with you, I wasn't aware of the lack of transferability with Rise. The good news is typically, especially if you're building for somebody that's interested in interactive video or a larger company, Rise is the go-to product. So most of the time they'll ask you if you have Rise or if it can be built in Rise. So I do love the final output of Rise. It's my preference. It's just nice, simple, and clean, and it feels like a website. And it makes production a lot easier. But I definitely see why you're suggesting Storyline for interactive video, because it's kind of what it was designed for, the more complex level 3 work. Awesome. So I'm excited to hear about the next set of tools. So what's tool number 2? Tool number 2. So tool number 2 is one of my favorites, and probably many of your audience's favorites because you're focused on microlearning, and it's 7-Taps. And 7-Taps is for those that might not be familiar with it, it's a very, very easy to use, easy to learn tool that the output specializes in vertical video. And that makes it really great for mobile device use, which is, everybody's using mobile devices these days. And the development time is really, really short because you as a developer, you learn it. It will take like maybe an hour at the most to figure it out, and you can pump out your first course right away. So I love 7-Taps for those reasons, and because it's meant to create microlearning, which is also a huge trend. It makes it a very, very powerful and good tool to get a hold of. But there are some downsides to it. The good thing is that, and this is from a budgetary standpoint, okay? So
you can create one course for free, and it is free forever. So if you're someone who is developing something for a portfolio piece, definitely 7Taps is good to create something, because you can create it. You don't have to continue paying for it, and it just lives out there. I mean, it's only one, but still it can demonstrate and get you more clients. And then later, if you want to upgrade to a more expensive plan, you can do so. So that, and you can also create other 7Taps modules. You just can't publish them all at the same time. Only one can be published at any one time. So if you're somebody who's just like learning the tool, or you want to practice developing microlearning, I mean, 7Taps is great for that. They do have a paid plan that is, more expensive. Let me just check on that. So the pro plan is $99 per month. And there is, I think, a discount of 25% if you pay the full, like if you're on the annual plan. So, if you're somebody who is on a budget, just do the free one module, know that it's going to be vertical format, and know also that you don't have access to branching capabilities or anything like that when you're on the free plan. Only the pro plan gives you things like SCORM exportability and branching capabilities. The other things to keep in mind are that the 7Taps it's not really ideal, even if you have the pro plan, which I've experimented with. I actually created a YouTube video like how to do branching scenarios with 7Taps, and it is possible. But the downside is that everything is based off of text links. So if you do a branch and you're using a text link, it's possible for the user, if they don't click on that text, they're just going to go forward to the next card or the next scene. And so it's possible to kind of break the interface. You can't protect somebody from themselves. If they really want to screw it up, they can do so. So that's the reason why I don't use that for my development for, like more full-blown interactive videos, because I like to make everything kind of user-proof in a way so that they can't kind of hurt themselves as they go through. But if you just want to create something quick, linear, you can include, I think it includes things like you can do quizzes, you can upload your own images, and you can even access a few of their digital avatars, even on the free plan. So it's just it's just a great tool. And the people who run it are great people. I mean, they're, Kate and all of her team. I have a lot of respect for them because they listen to the instructional design community as they create their product.
Love it. And I'm a big fan of their platform. It gets brought up. I mean, this is a third call that it's been brought up. So obviously you can see it's useful. It's growing in terms of popularity. And I love the development time tied to it. It's just simple, right? There's not a lot of complication. And as somebody who's enthusiastic about video, it makes the interactive component very easy.
Yes, so, absolutely.
Love it. All right. Tool number three.
Tool number three. All right. So tool number 3, and this one is a real good one for budget-friendly folks. So I really like a tool called Genially, and that is spelled Genially. Okay, so Genially, like .com, I think. And I like this tool because, and I think it's kind of it flies below the radar for instructional designers. It's very, very big in the educational space, like teachers. It's really very popular with them. Less so for some reason in the instructional design space, but it's got a great free plan. And the way that it works, it's kind of like, imagine Canva. So, most people are familiar with Canva, the design tool. It's like that kind of an interface, but it includes interactivity, even on the free plan. So things like you can develop a branching scenario, you can do things with animations. So in some ways it looks similar to Rise. Like you can create interactive buttons just with really quickly. It's easy to create hotspots that people can tap and like a little text thing will pop up. So the interface itself, as a developer, it's really fun to use, and it's easy to create nice looking stuff. They have a lot of templates. They even have I think it's a branching scenario template. You can just look that up when you're inside, grab that template and just customize it. And that can be your branching scenario that you put onto your, on your portfolio, for instance. So that's the reason why I like Genially so much. There's a few things that are, so the downside to it is, for one thing, so since I do specialize in interactive video, the downside is right now they don't allow you to import video unless you're on their most expensive author Teams plan, which is $600 a year. There is no monthly subscription for that. So if you want the high, like be able to import MP4s, you're going to pay a lot. It's still less expensive than Storyline. And you can develop a lot of the same stuff that you can develop in Storyline. So if you're going to compare the two, this is like half the price, of Storyline. But Genially does have, it's got a lot of great capabilities for, not for free, basically. And I think you get a gigabyte of data on the free plan. So you can develop and there's no restriction. You don't have to just develop one course. You can develop several, as long as you don't exceed that gigabyte, that 1 gigabyte limit, which, you probably won't, right? So you can develop a lot of cool stuff. I think it does export with a watermark. So that's just FYI. There's this little Genially animated watermark that always will reside in the corner. And to remove that, you have to be on their, I think their $300 plan, probably. Let me look at that. Yeah. I think that you have to be on the master plan, which is $300 a year, in order to remove the watermark. But you can do things like track learner progress, and you get analytics. And that $600 a year author plan is the one that gets you SCORM exportability. So you can see they didn't make this specifically for instructional designers. They did it for educators. And those prices are like the individual person plans. I think they probably have discounts for teachers and students as well. But it's worth checking out. There's no overview branching map the way there is in Storyline. So you can't develop super complicated stuff, or you probably shouldn't try. But for your basic interactive experience, you could do it. So what they do allow for video, it's not, you can't import videos, but you can you can link in YouTube pages, even unlisted YouTube pages, or Vimeo video. So if you're okay with the fact that what the video that is in there is a YouTube video, and you could tell it's a YouTube video because it actually has the YouTube logo and it runs like a YouTube video. So, obviously someone who's playing a YouTube video in the middle of their experience, they can go down some YouTube rabbit trail pretty easily just by continuing on with the YouTube stuff. So it's kind of easy to break the interface in that way, which is why I don't use it for my client work. But it's really great if you need to create something for a portfolio, or if you're just getting started. Super easy to learn.
That's interesting. How is the transferability on the project files? I'm sure they make it easy.
They do allow you, I have not tried this myself, but it says that you can give a copy of your Genially. So the Genially itself is the editable file, as far as I could tell. You can give copies of it away for free to anyone. So I don't think there's an issue with transferring it to a client, for instance. And the fact is, it's already free. So even if you don't transfer it, you can always edit it yourself. Keeping the subscription for yourself is fine because it's free. So that's not a bad deal. The only thing I'm not positive about is if you have the more expensive plan, I don't know what happens to your Geniallys they call them Geniallys. Those are the objects themselves. When you cancel your plan, I imagine you move back to the free tier. And I don't know what happens to the stuff you've created. You'd have to ask Genially about that, but
perfect. Yeah. No, I definitely like the fact that it's easy to use. I guess the big risk I see for larger companies is they might have more of a standard off-the-shelf product like Articulate or Captivate. So perfect. Now I'm excited about 4 and 3 because to be honest with you, I wasn't familiar with Genially. So curious about 4 and 5.
Yeah, so these are the surprise tools. So number 4, and you've heard of this tool, but you may not have thought of it for interactive video. So Synthesia. So Synthesia is the number one one of the best digital avatar creation platforms and AI video tools that's out there today. They're huge. They're very innovative. It's a little more on the expensive side, but they just announced that they are going to start adding interactivity as part of their video, their platform offering. So until this point, basically you could create a linear video in Synthesia with digital avatars talking, or maybe not, it could be more like a PowerPoint production. But it was basically, in the end of the day, it was an MP4 and it was completely linear. And if you wanted to add interactivity, you have to import that MP4 into Storyline or some other tool and add your interactive buttons and branching and all that stuff. Well, Synthesia, of course, they know that interactive video is huge and that they don't want to miss this trend. So so this is fall, right now it's fall 2024. They just announced they're going to add interactive elements as part of their platform, but I just checked today and it's not there yet. So they said they're going to go into beta test. They've invited me to be one of their beta testers, but I haven't seen the invitation actually go live yet. So I'm like, I saw it though during the demo. I could see the picture of what they were going to, I think, have this interactive map be, and it looks like a overview of like a story, like Storyline has that story structure, only it was like horizontal. It reminded me a lot of Twine, the way that it was pictured in this. It was not a live demo, but I mean, they showed a picture of it. I was like, oh my gosh, it looks like Twine, but it's Synthesia. That would be so great. Don't know if it's going to be, I'm guessing maybe that'll be an additional expense. I don't know. They haven't said anything about pricing, but just so people know. So first of all, this is huge. I mean, that makes Synthesia is now a player in the interactive video space. They've never been there before. And now they're going to be, and it means that maybe we won't have to use Storyline anymore for adding interactivity if you want to go with a Synthesia account. I don't know. And the other thing is that they have recently changed their pricing plan a little bit so that you get 3 minutes for free per month as on the free plan. So, you could create a good portfolio piece, 3 minutes, export that and have something be out there. But if you're a freelancer, 3 minutes of video per month is not going to do great for our client work. So, there's issues there with this. So just the pricing, so people know the cons are, in my mind, it's expensive. It's $29. So these are the different plans. They have a $29 per month for 10 minutes of video, and that's the monthly plan. It goes down to $18 a month if you're on the annual plan. So you get a big discount by going, annual and paying the full amount up front. Or they have another version of the subscription tiers that's $89 per month, and it gets you 30 minutes of video per month. And that goes down to $64 per month on the annual plan. So you could say, it's like if you are doing a lot of work, or if you're working for a corporation that already owns Synthesia, and you're a freelancer that's using their account, this is great. It's really it's relatively easy to learn, very flexible. They just have announced that they're adding in AI dubbing. So, the thing where you change, so the person's I'm speaking English and I can take that video, put it into the AI dubbing tool, and I can be speaking French, and the lips sync and the accent is relatively good. The translation's good. So they are moving in that direction. They really are. That company particularly is very, very plugged into the instructional design community, and they're listening a lot to what do instructional designers want in a tool. So that's the reason why I was able to include them on the list, because they're one of the few like Vyond is another company that they do the animation, but they've never added interactivity to it. So I have to always, to take Vyond videos and put those into, right? Which, it's an extra step. I just think that it would be really valuable to have it all in one place. And I'm hoping that more video platforms start realizing they should be adding interactivity too. And maybe that will give Storyline a little competition and they will stop jacking their prices up all the time. That's my hope. I don't know if that's going to happen.
I definitely see a blending of features and services tied to all of these platforms, even Vyond. I know Vyond's offering their AI version of video now, and it's pretty good, right? It's not, I thought it looked pretty decent, at least the examples that I've seen. And so I think in the future, we're going to start to see a lot of ecosystems around these major hubs. And I'm sure you've seen already that a lot of the platforms, these upgrades come in waves, right? I'm willing to bet the Articulate's going to have their version of Synthesia video or the AI.
Yeah, they are. They're planning to announce add in digital avatars.
And so
soon.
Yeah, and again, which is great for everyone, right? You no longer have to purchase multiple tools. Hopefully, there's competition among the pricing. I'm surprised, and for some reason, I thought Beyond was leaning towards the interactive space, but
I've asked them about it. They've never come back and said they're planning to do it. They might be. I really don't know, because they want to be an all-in-one video platform too. That's their new position. But I don't know if in their minds that includes interactivity, because up till this point, there haven't been any companies that. I mean, there are companies that, like Mindstamp is one where they specialize in interactive video, but they're not necessarily the instructional designers things. They're more the marketing tools. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how things play out in our field.
Awesome. All right, so. Tool number 5.
Yeah, so tool number 5. So tool number 5, and this one, I say it's a surprise because it's one that people wouldn't have normally pegged for interactive video, but I say YouTube. And the reason is because so in the past, they used to have something that they called interactive hotspots, and then they discontinued it. So you can't add interactive buttons that do things in the middle of to create your games. But when you look at YouTube from a microlearning perspective, okay? So when you think of the individual videos that are very short, horizontal still, so I'm not talking about shorts, but horizontal videos, because there are end screens possible, those are those things that, you see the watch next, because of that capability, you see more and more YouTube creators now beginning to do, and I do this. If you go to my YouTube channel, my handle is at Kimberly Goh, G-O-8, just like, my name, right? If you go to any one of my videos, almost anyone, especially the ones I've created lately, you'll always see at the end of my video, I will say something like, now that you've watched that video, maybe you want to know how to create a digital clone of yourself using this particular tool. If so, watch this video next, and I'll point right in the corner. And then you'll see my end screen that I decided to put up there. And what I've done is I've created a series that's daisy chained together. And there might be 5 videos in the series, and they are all short videos, maybe 4 minutes to 8 minutes long. So they're microlearning lessons. And I have designed the way that they're all connected with each other, so that you get a viewer's experience that's influenced by me as the designer, because I know kind of what I think would be an appropriate way for you to go through the series if you're a beginner. But what I really love about the fact that the idea of thinking of YouTube as an interactive video tool is that there's so much agency given to the learner. And that's why people love using YouTube, because you, as the learner, when you're watching one of my videos, you can decide, do I want to watch Kimberly's next video? Or do I want to watch one of these other videos that's suggested on the side? Or do I want to watch the ones that pop up, at the end, or the ones that are on my, you get to decide this for yourself. So essentially YouTube has created this algorithm that it learns, because it's adaptive, right? It learns from your viewing history, from the things that you've liked and not liked, for how long you watch videos, which people you follow. It is adapting to your learner preferences. So when you think about it in terms of that, it is an adaptive learning platform. If you're in the education space, you're using it for educational videos. It's adaptive. It gives everybody a lot of agency, even the creators. Like, I have the choice of what I want to point people to next. And the other thing, I guess the reason why I think that YouTube is important, and even if maybe your audience members, they're not necessarily going to be YouTube creators, but it's a really good idea to keep an eye on what this particular platform is doing. And the reason is because the creator industry is supposed to double in the next couple of years. So what you see now, the ubiquity of how much people are in the creator space, think of that times 2 or 3, in the next several years. And the small businesses, the different types of small businesses that are out there, YouTube channels are one of the fastest growing small businesses today. And the reason is because if you have your own business of any type, like what you guys have, Ninja Tropic, you've got your own business, it's a great way to get visibility in some form and put your personal brand and your materials and your thoughts out there so that you become discoverable. So for brick and mortar businesses, even there's ways that you can use YouTube to, market yourself. If you're a freelancer, people can find you. That's the reason why I do it. It's because it makes me findable and visible, searchable. I'm searchable now on YouTube. If people are looking up Beyond, for instance, they might find one of my videos because I've done videos on Beyond, and you guys too, right? So I just think that there's so many pros about knowing and watching how YouTube is doing it, because they're proving it out by experience, what works and doesn't work. And of course, they're spending a lot of money figuring that out. But you, as an instructional designer, you can take some of the things that you see them doing and maybe import that into your own practice. So I just think it's valuable to keep an eye on it. And if you are somebody that's interested in becoming, experiment, like say that you're somebody who really knows how to do gardening, like you're really into vertical gardening or some kind of a thing. I mean, it's a hobby for you. But if you wanted to actually create a side hustle for yourself, YouTube is a great place to do that. You can take your hobby and figure out ways to put that instruction out there so other people can find you. And there's ways to monetize it, because once you reach a threshold of 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours per year, you get half of the ad revenue for the ads that are run on your videos. And there's a lot of ways to monetize, but that's like a really great way because it's passive income. So I just think that YouTube is worth keeping an eye on no matter what. And yeah, right. So that's the reason why I've included it in the interactive video space, because I think they're a leader in the video space, and they are doing, like, they're going to add in a hype button and they're gamifying things. They are finding ways to socialize the communities more, let people interact with it. Like, you can like stuff at any time, but you can comment on things. There's all these different interactive tools. It's not interactive in the way that traditional e-learners think of, e-learning developers think of interactivity, but it's interactive. Think of the way that you, like, when you watch things, you can leave, you can come back, you can jump around in chapters. There's all kinds of things that you can do.
I know. The good news is too, a lot of our customer base, it's tied to customer education, and YouTube's perfect for that, just because it's simple. A lot of times customers, if you're building any sort of customer training product, yes, there might be an LMS, but most of the time you need something that's quick, accessible, and then you can gather a lot of key metrics on, and YouTube is just phenomenal. It has one of the best metrics systems that I've seen.
Yeah, the analytics are incredible. I mean, it's like what we all, as instructional designers, when we think about XAPI and we want to be able to track things, they're doing that already. Yeah. It's fabulous.
I definitely love the approach, and I'm glad you brought up YouTube. I'm a big fan. I'm sure we've read similar books on it, and it's starting to grow on me as well. I think I'm spending more time just looking at analytics more than anything.
Yeah.
But I love the approach. I was going to say, if you Google anything tied to e-learning or any type of interactive video, you're definitely going to see Kimberly Goh and her thumbnails. I'm a big fan of them, by the way. So this is why we had you on the channel. And with that being said, who's somebody you look up to in the industry? Who's somebody that you follow that provides you insight, or that you're getting the next new up-to-date information from?
Yeah, wow, that's tough, because there are so many, especially in the instructional design field. There's so many people I have learned from in the past, that have taught me a lot. So I mean, it's almost like too many people to name. But I guess I want to take. I'm going to name a few people. Okay, I mean, just like people that I have really learned a lot from. I mean, I particularly Kathy Moore, who does action mapping, her information was really instrumental for me in my instructional design approach. So I learned a lot about action mapping from her. So that was, because she is the queen of the action mapping approach. So I would say probably Kathy Moore is one of the most influential folks. So that's instructional design. But I want to also talk about YouTube, since I am now so I'm just so fascinated and interested in what is happening in the YouTube space. So there's a particular a YouTube instructor that I follow. I mean, this is how I got my start on YouTube, and I've only been on the platform for 3 years, so I haven't been on for a long time. But I mean, I got my jump start by watching this guy whose name is Sean Cannell, and I've learned like pretty much everything I've learned about YouTube, I've learned from them. So you'll even see it. Like if you were to go to my YouTube channel and look at the descriptions of any of my videos, I always include something that's like how to get started on YouTube, and then I like provide a link to the free course that I took from Sean Cannell. That because I thought it was that good, it's like I want to share that with other people so they can get started themselves. I just think that he doesn't just focus on he does cameras and lights and stuff like that. That's his specialty, but he also does, how to do things on YouTube and leadership. I mean, just like a bunch of different arenas. So I just have learned a lot from watching the material that him and his team have been putting out.
Awesome. Kimberly, it's been great. We're going to include a lot of your portfolio information, the link to your courses, your LinkedIn profile, and anything else that you include in the description. What's one of the best ways people can reach out to you or find you?
Yeah, I think probably LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me there. If you mention that you saw me on this podcast, like actually drop me a note, and so I'll connect with you. And because I think that currently the way I have it set up, it says follow, but you can connect with me if you want. You just need to let me know who you are. In the instructional design community, I don't often connect with vendors anymore for a lot of different reasons, but I do connect with other instructional designers. And the other place to really where I love to be, I spend a lot of my time on, is on my YouTube channel. So on, my handle's at Kimberly Goh, Goh. And people a lot of times will ask questions there about the topics, and I try to respond to the comments as much as I can. So those are the two places to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Kimberly, thank you so much for the time, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Eric. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
Want to learn more about microlearning best practices? We've got you covered. Check out the video cards for more related content. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly tips and explore the description for a curated list of resources to continue your e-learning journey.